The children were grown, and gradually the second generation was taking charge. Werner became president of the stores, Elmer was chairman of the foundation, and Ray started a construction business. The daughters, Florence and Anne, would later serve on the board.
Being of a very close Germanic family, we gathered together an awful lot. I doubt there were many Sundays where we as a family did not go to another family for Sunday dinner, and often the grandparents would be there too.
It was just fun to have everybody getting together and playing music and the rest of us singing. Or playing games. If it was summertime, there wasn't so much music, but just playing games, lawn bowls, croquet. It was sort of good old-fashioned fun.
In the early years of the foundation, grants were given to social service agencies, especially those dealing with families.
They had a lot of personal interests that they supported. And my grandmother would meet a young kid in the street and put him through college. There's a wonderful picture of course, with the Boys Club having founded it. It was very dear. I mean, he was a saint of a man. You know, the guy had, what, 9 years of, if that, of, not even that, of formal education. But he had a wisdom about him that...
Early grants also included money for buildings at the University of Chicago and Northwestern University.
I remember my father relating when they dedicated Wieboldt Hall, and one of the business schools raised his hands during the dedication. Mr. Wieboldt, could you kind of tell us to what you attribute your success? And he said, well, a lot of good luck and a lot of hard work. And he paused, he said, but I always found my luck was better when I worked hard. Now that's, may or may not have been original with him, but it speaks to the man. I mean, a very totally unostentatious person.
During World War II, the Red Cross and other agencies supporting war efforts were funded. In 1952, William Wieboldt asked to be relieved of his responsibilities as a director. He was 95 years old. He died 2 years later. Anna died a few years after, at age 103.
We come bearing a message that Chicago can change, and we are going to change it non-violently.
When the excitement and turmoil of the 60s took hold in Chicago, the family's third generation turned the foundation toward funding community organizing and leadership development grants.
It was a major change in the focus, but not exactly in the goals. It was just that's what was seen at the time as the great need in the city.
So that it was a combination of their own readiness as a third generation to really take charge and to work at this with a commitment, and at the same time it happening at a moment when there was a lot to do and a lot to think about that was exciting.
Board members made site visits in the community and opened their doors to new members.
The thing that I brought to the board was an interest in trying to, or a stabilizing force to give them confidence in the decisions that they were making. I mean, I never thought that I knew more than they did, or that I felt that I would guide or lead them. I just felt that they needed to feel more comfortable about decisions that they were making, and I felt that that was probably my greatest contribution.
Many family foundations are simply stunned by the fact that we have taken on non-family board members. They aren't even thinking about it yet, or are resisting, or see it as too much of a problem, and all this kind of thing. So I think that we were definitely innovators when we did that, and it was a big change.
The Wieboldt Board is also unique in another aspect of its makeup.
Wieboldt Foundation is really wonderful to have. One of the men say when I came here that this was the only board in town that was short of white men. Homa was, as I hear the stories, was a really wonderful, strong woman. And there's lots of strong women in the Wieboldt family, so it's a really wonderful group of women to be working with.
It all started here in Logan Square, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for LS&A organizing.
Power rests in the people. Movements, organizations, and training sessions try to help people realize their potential.
One of the things that we have been fighting for is for housing for low and moderate income families.
What is it that makes such fundamental changes occur? And how can the Wieboldt Foundation support that process? Since social programs may come and go, the board's answer for lasting change is to invest in the neighborhood itself and its leadership.
We are donor-seeking actors as opposed to donors seeking an issue. So we are really funding the process of developing leadership, helping them speak out on their own behalf with confidence, and dealing with whatever issues are of concern to them in a neighborhood.
We're willing to put faith in the organizations that they can determine what's needed and take those actions and take the risk that that will work out.
A case in point is school reform.
When school reform was really born at a meeting of business and community organization people, you looked up on the stage, among the community organization people up on the stage, taking the most active roles, virtually all of them were people who had come up through Wieboldt Foundation funded organizations.
It's almost ironic that our focus on education and Ann Hallett's coming on staff started at the same time.
It was a really wonderful match between my passion for this area of work, Wieboldt's deep interest in the major issues that are going on in the city.
The bottom line for the board is, are they making a difference?
When I go around to some of these site visits in the very poor neighborhoods and see the pride that people take in what they have become as an individual or done something for others in their, say, just in a building or a small neighborhood project, and see how good they feel that they, well, now have the power to do something. That makes me feel good.
If you are impacting, whether it's a woman or a man, but anyone positively, all those around them will be positively impacted. And I feel so strongly about that, because when you see the disintegration of not just families, which is a very 90s buzzword, the whole family thing, but of communities and the devastation, what happens. And when you have people that are really, and they are sometimes tilting at windmills, but out there trying to solve the problems right in their own backyard, it's very compelling.
How does this philosophy put the foundation on the cutting edge of grant making?
We've been willing to try new things, whether it's, we're not the first to do program-related investments. We may be one of the first of our size to do it directly rather than through intermediaries. I would guess we have one of the hardest working boards of any foundation across the country because of the direct involvement and the fact that we really read every grant that is under active consideration.
Wieboldt has been willing to push the edges and get into areas that are, in general, philanthropic areas that other people tread with caution, whereas Wieboldt is just very comfortable pushing the boundaries of grant making.
Pushing the boundaries also means reflecting on the past and pushing to the future, to a vision of what Chicago will be in 10 or 20 or 50 years. What values will be passed on? What lessons have been learned?
Well, I would like them to carry forward the vision of empowering people to help themselves.
Think of the foundation as a tool and what you would do with it, and to try to just sort of free associate what's the best thing one can do at this time with this tool to make the best change possible.
It's an institution that I hope always has a place in Chicago, but its place is really reacting to what's going on.
Follow your good judgment and don't be guided by any long arm from the grave of those of us who are sitting here in 1993 thinking we're doing it right. Well, we know that you'll be doing it right, though it'll probably look different later years.
In the future, Chicago is going to continue to be divided, I think, along issues of race and class issues, and I think Wieboldt needs to be in those areas and really look to ways that we can be effective and impact those in a positive way.
I just think we have to keep on trying no matter what.
It can be very energizing and satisfying and fulfilling to feel part of this. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're trying to pass on the culture to the future generations, is because there's a thought that this is too good not to pass on.
It's very important for me to think that my kid might be involved in this foundation. It's something I really feel quite strongly about.